I know the way I contacted you to get you involved in this was not exactly the most professional way, but I wanted to reach out and you're so it's so awesome
Tricky,
that you
Tricky, did you send him nudes? Is that how you got him? Is that the way you sent?
Well, we said we were going to talk about that.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve,
and Troy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 381. I'm your host, Tricky Mick. Alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend, and the man that won't let me smoke my vape, Alex.
Let it be known, ladies and gentlemen, that there is not an episode of Trophy Wars that will not start with Tricky picking at me because I don't like to fight with a stranger at the beginning of God of War.
I have no idea why you don't like that fight.
I have no idea why you exalt it so much.
He brings the awesome every single week. It's I Yield to No One.
Happy Mario Day!
It took me until about 20 minutes ago to realize today was Mario Day.
You fail as a gamer.
What do you mean I fail as a gamer?
Turn in your card.
What?
I didn't know it was Mario Day either.
You're alright.
Cool. I actually own a Nintendo Switch, so I'm safe there.
Yeah, see, you're safe
I have protection.
You guys kill me.
It's fun.
All right, and today we have a special guest. Last week you heard Yield rant and rave about Bombfest, so I thought, why don't I reach out, and we're going to get one of the developers of the game. And now, not only did I get a developer, I got the lead developer. It's Zac. How you doing, sir?
Hey there. Hey, happy to be here. Glad to hear the good word of Bombfest getting out there to the people, and happy to be on the show.
All right, so Zac, real quickly, just tell us, what studio you work for, what you do, and what your day-to-day life is, developing a game.
Well, my name is Zac Pierce, lead developer of Bombfest, and my day-to-day is basically chugging away on this game, adding new features, content, doing PR, writing code, making graphics, and trying to make something that people can sit down and enjoy with their friends. So, yeah, life of a game dev.
Let's do our updated trophy counts. I am level 39, total trophies of 9,864 with 118 platinums. That's right, I got another one. Alex?
Level 31, total trophy count of 6,827 and a platinum count of 101 platinums in 100 games.
I just realized when I edited last week's show, you never agreed to the bet. Do we have that bet or not?
What, that I can't say 101 platinums in 100 games going forward if you raise a certain amount in Extra Life?
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to say it. I'm going to keep saying it because I'm just being honest. I'm being very forward. About how cross-save got me 2 platinums from one game, essentially. From one save file.
Yield your trophy, sir.
Level 28. Trophy count of 5738. And a platinum count of 90.
Steve is level 15, total trophies of 2,095 with 11 platinums. Sid's kicking all our asses. He's level 37, total trophies of 8,573 with 154 platinums. And Zac, what's your trophy count, sir?
Well, I did some math, and even though I don't own a PS4, if I had all the trophies for Bombfest, would count up to, I'd be a level 4 with 1,200, my trophy count, and a single platinum for completing all the trophies in Bombfest.
So that's a confirmation. Bombfest does have a platinum, right?
It sure does.
Oh, see, that's important to me. We're gonna get to that when we get to the top of the week and we go into the full interview with you. All right, so let's get into...
Whoa. We also forgot one very important tidbit about Zac. He also owns a PS2 in good condition.
That's true. I mean, I figure if I can borrow another PS2, I can tape them together and start playing all these newfangled games people are talking about. But until then...
Is that an old school, like the larger PS2, like one of the launch ones? Or is it like one of the smaller, the Slims?
It's one of the bigger ones. One of the black... I want to say it was the original release within a week or two. So I had to play... I owned, Crash Team Racing on PlayStation before owning a PlayStation or PlayStation 2. I'm not sure how that happened, but we had to get something to play it. So picked up a PlayStation 2 within a week that it came out. And yeah.
How does someone get a PlayStation 2 within a week of it being out? Because I remember that thing was scarce.
It was a nightmare, like just going outside. But I mean, there were cars everywhere and people dying in the streets. But if you trudged through, you made it through the trenches, you could find yourself a Best Buy with a shipment coming at the same time you were and get your hands on one.
There was no Amazon to just ship things, teleport things right to your house back in those days.
Goodness, you were the Amazon.
What can you tell us you have been playing, Zach?
Let's see. Well, I've been playing some Witcher 3 on a PC lately. I've been hearing about this game for years and years, and frankly, I need a good comfort game, something I can come back and kind of pick up between working on games, doing side jobs and stuff. And it hasn't failed to please so far. It's got so much content. There's always something new, and really enriching environment and story. So, been really getting into that lately. And otherwise, been doing some Smash Ultimate on Switch, trying to figure out how to do short hops reliably, because apparently that's a thing you need to be able to do to be good. So, for now, I'm bad.
All right, Alex?
Well, lately I have been playing a whole lot of God of War. Gotten further in the game, heading to the Land of the Giants. I cannot, right now, the name of the realm escapes me. It's basically this third realm that you go to, if you're counting Midgard in the realms. So, yeah, I'm just kind of exploring the world right now of Midgard, hitting some secret beaches, some secret boat docks, just trying to find all that I can, close some tears, and last night I got through the mountain, so I beat the dragon who lives in the mountain, got to the mountain, and then went back to the witch's cave. So as far as the story goes, I'm right around there. I have Mimir's head at the moment, and he's going to take me to the Land of the Giants to help me find, to get to the highest peak in the land to spread my wife's ashes.
You're just spoiling the shit out of that game, aren't you?
I mean, I didn't mean... I guess with that, I kind of assumed that everyone had already beaten it. But at the same time, I'm not even probably half the way through the game. Would you agree with that? Because, I mean, there's 9 realms. I'm only going to the third one now.
Well, you're not going to go to all the realms.
Oh, really? Then... Points off! Points off! What?
You don't go to all the realms.
They better pick up on that in the sequel, because we know there's one coming.
Oh, we know there's a sequel coming. I gotta ask, what do you think about Mimir's head talking on the boat trips? Did you notice that, they'll have a conversation, and then when you get to land, they'll pause the conversation, and then when you get back in the boat, they continue the conversation from exactly where they left off?
Yeah, because both Atreus and Kratos have mentioned that, you were talking before and you didn't finish, and then he'll continue. The only problem with that, though, is I get what he was saying before. After I've gone and done some exploring and some killing, I completely forgot where it left off. So it doesn't really help all that much when I forgot what you said before, and you pick up 20 minutes or 30 minutes later, or maybe an hour sometimes, and you're explaining something that I just have a vague remembrance of what you're talking about.
Well, I found myself a lot of times when I pulled up to the boat ramp, I just stopped, waited for him to finish the story, then I went on. Because those stories are really good. It's a subtle way of telling you the story without making you watch a cutscene.
Yeah, because, I mean, you're traveling across the 9 realms, you're traveling across the Lake of Nine, and just having another character sit there and talk to you while you're, rowing in your boat, you're right, it's a good way to tell kind of extra, to beef up the story a little bit and expand the lore, other than, finding the secret, the hidden caves, and all the different lores that you have to have Atreus translate.
Have you found your first Valkyrie yet?
I found the Council of the Valkyries. I did find that, but I have not found the Valkyries. Like I said, I just beat the dragon, which I'll give it to him. That was a really cool boss fight. That was more of a God of War boss fight than I had experienced previously in this game. I read an interview earlier this week where Cory Barlog, who is also the director of God of War 2, so he knows about big boss fights, was talking about how they had to cut a lot of boss fights from the game because they were just kind of too ambitious, and that's one area where he feels like they could have done better with the game, was with the boss fights. The dragon was awesome. I can't pronounce his name,
since I hate you, we're gonna move on to Yield. Yield, what have you been playing?
So, I've been playing some Adrift and Red Dead Redemption 2. And then I jumped into some online last night and today. And that's it.
Okay. And the only thing I've been playing is The Division. I played a little bit of... I forgot the name of the game. And I say a little bit because it took me like an hour to get the platinum.
That's a shock.
But, alright, in my defense, I would not call this a chump game, though. Because it actually,
Was it one of those puzzle games?
Yeah, it's a puzzle game. It's called Mix-Ups.
Okay.
You might want to stop and explain to Zach what we would consider a chump game or a chump platinum. Because he's probably like, man, they're ragging on this game real hardcore. Did I come on the wrong show?
Somebody invested their time and their effort and all their love into this game, and now you're just throwing it by the curb?
Well, all right, what we consider... well, you know what? There's a highly contested debate on what we consider a chump game. And we actually... Well, I started writing the Trophy Horse Bills of Rights just so we can, clarify. A chump game is a game that really takes little to no effort to get all the trophies in.
It's less about the game and more about the trophy list, then.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So a game like Slide, which is only available in the EU PlayStation Store, you could literally go online, buy the game for 99 cents, look up a guide online, and have the platinum 15 seconds later.
Sheesh.
That's a chump game. And yes, I do have that platinum.
Of course you do. That's where the real money is, right there in the easy platinums.
But they would also consider Hannah Montana a chump platinum, Terminator Salvations a chump platinum. But there's also definitions of the chumps. Like some of us are against, like Alex was alluding to before. He got the platinum in Sly 4 using the cross save, which had 2 trophy lists. Where if you traded if you sent your PS4 save to the cloud and downloaded it on the Vita trophies would automatically pop without having to do the work again. So in his case, he got 2 platinums for the same game, but he only had to play the game once. So that's why
interesting.
So that's why he says 101 platinums in 100 games.
Basically, when we're describing all this, we're very much flying by the seat of our pants because this changes all the time.
And that's why I said we started writing the Trophy Horse Bills of Rights, but we just never finalized it.
Probably for good reason too.
It's still in the House. It's still in the House of Representatives.
All right, so let's get into our topics. First topic. I know I took a couple weeks off, guys, and you guys covered all of the layoffs from Activision.
Apparently that's not all. Well, I guess it is all of them. There's just more news coming to light now.
Yeah, it says, according to a recently discovered report, 209 of the 800 employees were laid off were actually part of Blizzard sides of gaming. So, it wasn't just Activision that was affected. It was also Blizzard that was affected. These employees were given 60 days of compensation and benefits, and, quote, none were represented by a union according to the worker adjustment and retraining notification filed by the state of Blizzard on February 12th. These layoffs impacted those in the U.S., including Irvine, Santa Monica, Burbank, and New York City, Austin, and Bloomington, Minnesota.
I would figure that Blizzard makes enough money to keep itself afloat for the next 2,000 years.
That's what I would say.
Where did we get that information from, Tricky? Which website?
This is coming from IGN.
I mean, Zach probably has a maybe not a much different perspective, but obviously a different perspective than we do coming from the industry. But I think you never want to hear that people are getting laid off, especially with a company that seems to do so well, even if they overshoot or they overestimate their profits. So,
right,
Zach,
I would agree.
Yeah, how do you feel about this whole situation, Zach?
I think a number of people in the industry would look at a company like Blizzard or a lot of the big names and say, oh, that's a safe company. You get a job there, you get a job for life. And this was kind of a shock to us in the industry because, I guess it bleeds, On one hand, I think of it like this. The games industry is incredibly risky. Like, I poured my life savings into Bombfest, for example, and we'll see when it all comes back or what kind of profit we'll be looking at still. It's still too far out to tell. And 4 years in development means that's a risky kind of maneuver. I don't recommend that. And even just getting a job, like if sales don't keep up, if market trends change, if Fortnite catches on for some reason, I mean, it can all change in the blink of an eye. I think this is the most volatile industry. Like, you've got the best chance for the most money, but at the same time, you're really praying that job holds out. With that in mind, like, it's always scary to see this happen. You don't expect this, and you wish that there were some way that we could make work in this industry more reliable. At the end of the day, we're making art, Like, art's scary. People are going to like it one day and hate it the next. And it really just depends how the wind blows. So my heart goes out to everybody who was let off, and I hope that they can find connections in other jobs going forwards because they're incredibly talented individuals. And yeah, we all dream of being in this industry. They probably felt they had a safe position at what we consider a safe company. But their pedigree will stand with them. They've got Activision Blizzard on their resume. Like, that's intense. They're going to move forward with that, and I'm confident that they'll be able to find another place in the industry should they continue to pursue that.
Yeah, having Activision Blizzard on your resume is kind of like having Harvard on your resume when you want to go to, get a job as a lawyer. Harvard Law. It's like, okay.
Well, I mean, the thing about the games industry is, yes, like, people always want that kind of entertainment. You're always going to be able to sell games. But you also have these big budget productions where, like, the money that it costs, like, to actually make these games and put on the marketing campaigns, like, it's not just like, people look at the budgets of movies, but the budgets of games are just as high. So, like, that's where a lot of the risk comes from. Like, there's still a lot of money being tossed around, even if, people may see video games, it's like, oh, it can't be as expensive to make a video game as a movie. There's still a ton of money getting tossed around. And if necessarily, like, something doesn't hit, like, a studio could be gone overnight.
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts. I mean, movies are a great comparison because just a bad blockbuster weekend can mean the end of a franchise, But look at something like Anthem right now, who's been pouring so much money into advertisements. I haven't seen so many advertisements on YouTube and, like, just daytime television. And yet it's kind of faltering right now, which is terrifying. They've been announcing this thing for years. And here we are wondering, these employees are wondering, like, what's my job look like now? And was this me?
And just look
was
at
this just luck?
I'm sorry. Just look at, like, Telltale. Like, they were on such a high, and now they're gone.
Oh yeah, and like, we never expected this from Telltale. That was out of the blue. I mean, we look up to their games. That's, man, however the wind blows, right?
Well, like, just a few other, like, scary examples, like, within Activision. I don't know if you all remember Raven Software, but they were, like, a highly accredited studio, and then they put out Singularity, a well-received game, and after that they were gone. And you look at Black Rock Studio with Disney, and, Disney's focus might have been shifting away from that kind of game, but Black Rock Studio put out Split Second, a game that Yield and I both like, a very high-quality game, and they were gone after that game. It happens in an instant.
Well, like, even if you do good, that doesn't mean you're going to make it. That's the true scary thing. You can have a good game, and people love it, and then, just doesn't make enough, so, oh well.
Yeah, well, look at you were talking about Disney, Alex. Look at the Toys to Life games. Like, for the while, they were on the top, between Skylanders and Disney Infinity, and then one day, they're just like, all right, we're done.
I think some of that was they oversaturated the market.
I mean, that's true. I mean, but also look at THQ. THQ's main demise is when they came out with that UDraw tablet. Like, they invested so much money into that, and when that flopped, the whole company went away. Now, in a little bit of news that we all kind of expected to come, Kojima has officially said Death Stranding is a little behind schedule.
Get out of here!
Wait, hold on. What is the schedule for Death Stranding?
There is no schedule.
We don't know.
No one knows. All we've seen is a couple trailers.
Why would he even say this? Because it's not like we all have, like, a date down in our calendars of when it's going to come out.
I don't know, but in another article from IGN, Death Stranding has fallen slightly behind Kojima Productions' internal planned release date, according to the man in charge. Kojima made the statement in an interview with J-Wave, and was translated by IGN Japan. He says, it's common for studios to fall behind on their planned release date, and Death Stranding is slightly behind our initial plan, but not behind by much. That's the quote. At one point, Kojima was hinting that the game could be out before 2019, so it does feel like there may have been multiple planned release dates.
So, I will always give credit to a developer and a publisher who is willing to hold back a game to finish it, because we've talked about in previous weeks about games that have to be patched day one or that are unplayable or severely hindered by, bugs in the game that they just shoved out the door. At the same time, I have to ask, with Death Stranding, there's been so much mystery surrounding the game. When was that game initially announced? When was it revealed?
Was it
2 years ago?
Was it 2 years ago? I said it was last year or 2 years ago.
I think it was...
Yeah, 2 years ago. No, that sounds right.
E3 2017.
Yeah.
At what point does a game take so long to come out that so many other games come out before that people start to care less and less about Death Stranding?
Duke Nukem Forever.
Wow. Well, see, the thing is when Kojima left Konami, it was such big news that Sony had to announce that they landed Kojima to make an exclusive game for them. And that's when we started hearing the news about Death Stranding. My personal feelings is, Kojima going to PlayStation, that's huge news, but you didn't have to tell us what game, because we knew at that point, whatever game he was working on was not coming out for 5 years.
Was it more important to have Kojima on the project or Norman Reedus?
I think it was more important to have Kojima.
Well, here's the thing. Kojima's name, I hate to say this, he commands a lot of respect because he's made so many fantastic games and he has such experience within the game industry. But Metal Gear Solid itself carries far more impact than Kojima's name alone. So,
I don't think so.
Really, you don't?
No, because when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, they've released a Metal Gear Solid game. Now, granted, it was a shitty game. Okay, Survive was a shitty game, but they released that game, and that game did nothing. I guarantee you, if in some way, shape, or form Kojima was behind Survive, that game would have been spectacular.
I mean, are you giving him too much credit there? Are we just talking about making it a different Metal Gear game altogether, or just trying to repair and make Metal Gear Survive based on its concepts now better than they are?
Well,
Kojima is...
It would be a totally
I'm sorry, you'll get...
I would say, not that I played much of it, I think did I mess around with the beta? Either way, I think it would have been a totally different game. You wouldn't have got the game that was presented.
Well, he's not going to make a multiplayer-focused game. He's going to make a story-based single-player campaign.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we never would have gotten Survive if Kojima was still a part of it. Konami tried to cash out on the name Metal Gear and failed horribly.
Which everybody knew that was going to happen now. Everybody knew that just because it had a Metal Gear name, it wasn't going to be the same kind of game.
Which is why I'm saying Kojima, the name Kojima means more than Metal Gear Solid, because there is no Metal Gear Solid without Kojima.
But here's one thing you're forgetting, is Kojima a household name? How many game developers these days are household names? Usually people just talk about the games themselves.
Well, you know what?
Are we in a world where the game developers, most people know the people who make the video games they play, other than the publisher?
I would kind of argue that, I think, especially in the games industry, we're moving a lot more towards the celebrity behind the game more so than the game itself. When I think Metal Gear, I think Kojima. I think of how ridiculous he is. When I think of Nier Automata, I think of, his name's skipping my mind, but the guy who wears that face mask everywhere he goes. I think about people like,
How about Neil Druckmann at Naughty Dog?
Right. I think about, what's his face? The guy who's been on stage about Fallout 76, just running around, and people are just hate that guy's guts. I think about Jeff with the Overwatch team. I think the age of kind of the celebrity behind games is coming to a head here. It's kind of like movies where you've got these producers, you got these J.J. Abrams and so on and so forth. You're like, oh, they're making a movie, I want to go see it. Kojima's making a new game. It's not Metal Gear. I want to go play it. You know, so it's not so much the title so much. I think there's some clout there, but we're really coming to an age where the developer is in some way the reason that people pick up certain games. It's weird.
I mean, they're like Tim Schafer is a guy. His name carries a lot of weight for me. I think David Jaffe was one of those guys that you said his name after God of War, and like, oh, he was Twisted Metal too. Like, his name carried a lot of clout. But like most households, like most people, they'll like say, well, they'll go to Walmart and just pick up a game as opposed to going to GameStop or downloading it on their console. Do most people really know? Like, is Kojima's name enough to try to drum up enough interest in this game, especially if it takes forever for it to come out?
All right, let me ask you a question before I answer your question. When you say most people, are you referring to everybody in the world, or the informed people that listen to podcasts, go to IGN and stuff like that? Are you talking about most of those people, or are you just talking about most of everybody in the world?
I will have to retort with a question for you. The people who listen to podcasts are not the majority of people.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, because the average mom and dad that's going to go to the store and buy a video game or buy a music, they're not reading the news. They don't know about the Neil Druckmanns. They don't know about the Hideo Kojimas. They just know the name of the game. But for us, the informed, the people that are in the industry, the journalists, the podcasters, the influence, we know these names. And therefore, and I don't want to speak for Zach, but from what I got from Zach is that because we know these people, those are becoming more popular than the titles of the games themselves, is because we know this person is behind this game. Look at Amy Hennig when she left Naughty Dog and went to the Star Wars game. When the Star Wars game got canceled, it was shitty that the Star Wars game got canceled, but also in that same comment was how Amy Hennig just lost her game. So it's just equally as important.
Here's the thing. Like, what's the bigger percentage of the population? The people who don't listen to podcasts and go to video game websites, or the people who do?
Well, the people that don't.
But, like, I would say, like, think of your top 10 favorite games. Or, like, 10 games that you love to play on the PlayStation 4. Can you name all the developers of those games, like the people behind it?
There's some wisdom there, but I think what we're getting at is there are some franchises and games where it's this guy, the Tim Schafer, the Kojima, where all of a sudden some franchises are not being driven by the games themselves. Like, I grew up with Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. I couldn't name one of the people behind that game, but I could name some of these celebrities that have come out of the woodworks and who've either done great things or fallen flat on their faces. It's almost like reality TV.
I mean, if you're talking Insomniac Games, Ted Price is usually the guy who's in the forefront quite a bit, the CEO of
there we go.
Insomniac. So I definitely think that a lot of these developers deserve to have their names out there, and they deserve to be household names because they're obviously putting in a lot of work and a lot of hard work. So yeah, they definitely deserve to be known. I just wonder with a game like this if Kojima's name alone is enough to carry it.
I personally think yes. I mean, obviously,
well, you're a Kojimaholic.
Well, see, I'm the skeptic on that. I was interested when Kojima was doing an exclusive game for PlayStation. Everything that I've seen from Death Stranding makes me go, okay, that seems
what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah, it seems interesting, but what the hell am I looking at? Because I am still not sold on this game that I'm buying it. Now, I know because of what Kojima has done with the Metal Gear games that there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. There's going to be a very heavy story-driven that you have to pay attention because something he mentioned here is going to get brought up way down here and to tie everything together. But still, if it doesn't play well and it doesn't, I don't want to say feel cool, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. I would pass on it, even with Kojima as the head.
The thing with like the kind of the downside of the celebrity culture is that Kojima doesn't make Metal Gear Solid, right? He's the game designer. There's a whole team that works to make those games as memorable and as fun as they are. And will that same team be working on Death Stranding? That's what you got to ask.
Well, they did announce that most of the team from Kojima Productions, when they were with Konami, have moved over. I mean, obviously some stayed, some went, but he said the majority of the team he had with Metal Gear is now working on Death Stranding.
We've got a new environment. I wonder if that's going to have an effect on the quality of the game. So I'm definitely a skeptic here too.
Well,
but
here's. Oh, sorry.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Zach.
Like his name's got some weight to it, so we'll see how much you can swing with that. Go ahead.
I think the biggest problem with this game in particular is that it's been announced 2 years ago, and we still have no idea what it's about.
Well, they even in the article that I linked in the agenda, they did a 2-hour demo, including with the Metal Gear movie director was in there, and they all walked out of the meeting going, "I still don't know what the hell this is about."
Yeah, and that only lasts for so long. You can only give us breadcrumbs for so long before we're just like, why do I care about this game other than Kojima's in it? Or Kojima is behind it.
I mean, it's got Nolan North, it's got Troy Baker, it's got Norman Reedus, it's got some big name celebrities in the game. I just don't think we're really going to know what the game's about until
The game is out.
we have. Well, no, I'm going to say a little while before launch, because the mystery, like even this conversation like we're having right now, the mystery behind it, to Alex's point, it's only going to last so long, but the mystery is what keeps people talking about it.
I can't argue with that.
There's a value to the way this is being quote unquote marketed, because it's still staying up in conversations. And like Alex's first thing, like, why even announce it's behind schedule if we don't even have the release date? It's to keep it in your mind.
That's a good point.
All right, so that is the end of our topics this week.
Now, wait, before you throw it to Sid, I'm a little disappointed in your topics this week.
Why is that?
Because you did not put on here about the Division 2's big day one patch, and I thought for sure you'd have that in there.
Well,
Trying to sweep that under the rug there, Tricky?
No, I mean, we could talk about it. I honestly didn't do it because one of the rules that we have on the show is that if not more than one person can talk about a topic, we generally skip it. Yes, Division 2, if you buy it digitally, you have to download the game, and then there's going to be another 92 gigabyte patch.
Ain't that crazy? I saw that. I thought that was insane.
Ugh. Yeah.
In my opinion, just delay the game.
But that's the thing. It's not. The patch is huge, but it doesn't replace the game size.
Okay, now explain that to me.
Let's just say the game Division 2, which I don't know exactly. Let's just say it's 80 gigs.
Okay.
For the base game.
For the base game. To install it onto the system to play it, it's 80 gigs.
Right.
All right.
And maybe Zach can talk to more about this than I can, because I'm speculating at this point. There's something wrong with the Division 2, the way it's coded right now, where they have to patch the game. The patch itself is 80 to 90 gigs, but it just patches the game. It doesn't add to the size of the game.
Yeah. I would say what's probably going on here is a couple things, like, why is there a day one patch is a great question, and why is it so big?
Well, that's every
the
game
size
nowadays.
Itself, yeah, like, why isn't there a day one patch? Like, even Bombfest, like, we were pushing a patch the day before. We had a day -1 patch. With these things, like, when it comes to like a day one patch, like there's certification that comes with getting stuff on consoles, getting into different countries and outlets, and selling on markets. And one of the big problems is it just takes a long time. I mean, Bombfest, we'd submit it, and it would, I mean, I can't talk specifics, unfortunately, they're NDAs, but it took us 5 months to get it through on everything.
Oh, wow.
And the game was done. Like, it wasn't changing. Like, it was done. In fact, I was working on the next patch that whole time. and working on fixes. So 5 months to push that through, and to get a patch through, at least a couple weeks. So I think what it comes down to is these guys had started the certification at some point, realized there were bugs a little bit after that process, like 5 months out, if you will. So they're 4 months out, they come up with a fix. They can't push it into the main thing till it's certified and on the market. A day one patch is kind of the curse because you have to choose this thing's good enough to market, and if something's bad, well, get in the day one patch and hope nobody runs into it before then. But as far as file size is concerned, like, there's parts of a game that are just big. They're just bulky. You can't compress them. Usually patches are small because you're not sending like the game back to the consumer. You're sending the changes. So it's like, okay, this enemy does 3 more damage. You don't have to send the whole enemy code back. You just send increased damage by 3. So what I assume is happening, there's a core system or something in there, a big chunk of it, that they just can't shrink down. They just can't make it smaller. Their compression, their patch software is just not working. But at the end of the day, the game size isn't going to be bigger. That amount is just what's going to be changed. So they'll basically replace that size of data with this patch, and the same space will be taken up, hopefully.
All right, and now I have to ask you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and if you can't answer it, I'll have Alex take it out of the show entirely. When we've talked about patches before, a rumor has surfaced that when it comes to patching your game, Sony or Microsoft charge you up to $40,000 to patch your game after release. Is that true?
So, based on the fact that our publisher is allowing us to patch our game, I don't actually know that number, but I assume that if it's above 0, it's nominal. In the past, there's a reason that we had a lot of free-to-play and popularly updated games on PC, because you wouldn't pay anything to update on PC. There was a cost associated in the past. I can't actually speak for now. But I assume that it's far lower, if not just nominal, because we're allowed. I've been pushing patches, and my publisher hasn't been getting pissed at me for making changes. So, if so, I got a debt to pay off. But at some point, that was true. I'd say nowadays it's a different kind of field.
Okay. And the one thing I before we actually talked to Sid, one thing I laughed at hysterically was, because I've been playing the Division nonstop. I'm going to be playing Division 2 in 2 days as of this recording. Ubisoft went full savage and released a press release, fake press release, saying Mexico would declare a state of emergency to ensure national security and protection, approves full funding building of a wall to immediately along the United States border.
I read that. I thought that was awesome. Great PR.
Thought that was hysterical.
I loved it. I read that and I'm like, bravo.
That's marketed at his best. Like, oh, all right, you guys are building the wall? No, we're building the wall to keep all you sick people away from us. All right. So our topic of the week, we don't have a topic. What we have is the interview. Zach, we're going to take full advantage of the fact that you're here and we can talk to a developer. And since Yield loves your game so much, I figured I'd let Yield lead the interview.
Tricky just wants to eat.
No. I have no food in front of me, but I do want to go smoke a cigarette. So I'm going to step away for a second.
See, there's the reason. So I heard about your game, Zach, Bombfest, from my buddy who was went to FamCom. What would that have been? 3 weeks ago from today? Yeah. So he went there, come back, and he's like, dudes, we were all sitting together playing video games, and he's like, hey man, he's like, you guys gotta try this game out. I tried it the other week, and we're like, alright. So we played it, and we played it for like 5 hours, just sitting there blowing each other up. So I wanted to ask, or one of the things I wanted to ask was, what inspired you to make Bombfest?
Well, let's see. The bad answer is just kindergarten. Your friends building up towers. You want to walk over and kick that sucker over, but that's not how you make friends, and that's probably why I've got so few friends these days. But really, there was a Flash game called Boxhead the Rooms. It was an Armor's game, I think. At least that's where I found it. And it was these little square-headed guys with guns. They'd walk around, they'd shoot things, and it was just really simple. It was like toys. So I want to make something similar. Recreated the game in Unity, added some physics because every game's better with physics, and it turned into this it actually it turned into something that's not at all like Bombfest. A game called Well Wishes. You had bow and arrow, you had swords, you had clubs, stuff that are rather absent from Bombfest. We took it to a contest in Columbus, ended up winning a free Unity license, and the judges were like, the best part's the bombs. So we scrapped everything but the bombs, and now we've just got a chaotic multiplayer experience where you blow things up.
I gotta give you credit on those physics, because the physics of like the blocks and stuff, when the bombs go off and the bodies are flung, that sounds really morbid, when the bodies are flung from the arenas, the physics are really great, so you guys did a really good job on that. Like, I read, that the game was the first incarnation of the game came out, it was first being worked on in 2015. It was there was medieval inspiration behind it, which is where the swords and the arrows and the bombs come from. How did you guys get from the medieval inspiration to one of more like a toy box in a house?
Sure. So originally, Well Wishes was this cooperative adventure. It was kind of like a Zelda Four Swords or just a top-down cooperative deal. And I just had these simple little... The story was basically, you had some really boring medieval people who had to go on an adventure. You had a baker, a courier, a tailor, and a minstrel, and they get chosen into an adventure of high fantasy and high stakes and saving princesses and whatnot. I don't remember at this point. But the names just stuck. As the game evolved, I love these characters. I loved what I'd drawn into them, and I said, I've already got the designs and stuff. Why not just keep them how it is? From there, it's just grown. We've been adding new characters and requesting characters from the community and adding them to the game. And I don't know. There's something about toys and medieval setting that just feels right. Destruction, like castles. Maybe there's some besieged seeping in with the influence there, but just something about it just fits. So I can't say for certain, but it feels right.
It's really cool, like, when they go, like, there's the level select screens, and it's basically, like, an arena within, like, a bigger room, and it focuses on the room, and then, like, it zooms in onto the arena itself. It may be, like, a nightstand next to a bed. Like, I really like the presentation that you all did there with that.
Thank you so much. I had to attribute that to Marissa Hike, our 3D art director, basically. Or she is our art director, I should say. She does the 3D art to make those rooms, and she had the idea for those transitions. We wanted to, it's a kid playing with their stuff. Like, I can't make 3D models, so when we first made the game, it was just a table floating in space, and that didn't make a lot of sense. So Marissa came in, she's like, let's just make these rooms. And I think the presentation really lends well to showing that, a kid's gonna own some space, they're gonna build their castle, their tower, and they're gonna make a mess of things. So I'm glad you like it, and we're happy with it as well.
I do have to ask, do you guys ever get, like, questions or associations to Bomberman?
I before I started advertising the game as sumo wrestling with explosives, I'd say it's Smash Bros. Meets Bomberman.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but, like, I have been, like, someone else mentioned Bomberman. I was like, okay, throwing bombs at people, I kind of get that. But then, like, I saw people flying out of the arena. It's like, oh, that's kind of like Super Smash Brothers, because, like you, I've been playing quite a bit of Super Smash Brothers as well since we got our Switch for the holidays. But okay, so I just that was kind of the same thought that went through my head. While recognize it as its own entity, its own game, I'm like, wow, that's kind of like Bomberman marries Super Smash Brothers. So sorry, Zach, go ahead.
You got it. And Smash Bros, of course, just a classic party game where you bring your friends together. Like, our whole goal was getting people on the couch. And Bomberman, I've never played Bomberman. I heard it's a good game, so I hope it's fun. But yeah, I figure why not just sell it as games that people recognize and understand, and that seems to do a good job of explaining it.
All right, I'm back, and I got to ask a question. I now, granted, I was away from the headphones for a second, so I don't know everything that was just discussed, but you're on a trophy podcast. Like, we care about trophies. When it comes to making the trophies in the game, how much care gets put into that, and, like, how much do you think about the trophies, or is it more of a, oh shit, we got to put trophies in this game? Okay, we'll make a trophy for this, we'll make a trophy for that.
So this is a topic I'm pretty passionate about. Like, my first real experience with trophies was the Orange Box, with Half-Life and Portal and Team Fortress 2. And Team Fortress 2 these days has a stupid number of achievements. There's hundreds and hundreds in that game, and trophies and whatnot. And it's in some ways, you got to sit there and say, these guys have made so much. What's good about this? What sucks about this? I think achievements add to a game so much. Like, when you give people a trophy to look forward to and try to, like, accomplish, sometimes it's just what? Start the game. Okay, chapter 1. You load chapter 1. You play chapter 1. You finish chapter 1. There's 3 trophies for you. Like, that doesn't add to an experience. That just shows you how far you've played. Just look at the percent next to your save file. But when something gets you to think about a game in a new way, something that the developer was like, this is cool, but no one's going to find it, that's where the beauty kind of comes out. Like, I remember in TF2 there were, they try and get you to do goofy stuff, like you have to be a soldier and you have to kill 2 enemies after a rocket jump. That's challenging. Why would you try and do that unless the game taught you? Or, like, why would you taunt in the explosion of a dead body? Like, that's just funny. Like, the game's better because you see people trying to do this stupid achievement and you get to blow them up or you get to watch them and, like, high-five them afterwards. Like, that creates gameplay. It's a meta to itself.
One of the trophies in Bombfest is you take the rocket bomb and you got to blow somebody, KO them after a couple of volleys.
Mm-hmm.
We've been playing for a while, and all of a sudden, accidentally, we didn't know that trophy existed. We caught it and was throwing it back and forth, and we're like, oh, you can do this? So we're sitting there between the 4 of us, just throwing this rocket randomly between the 4 of us, seeing how long we could keep it going before somebody got blown up. And then all of a sudden, we got a trophy for it, and it's like, what? There's a trophy for that?
Exactly, right? Like, for some people, they see that rocket and it's the homing missile and they just run for their lives. They won't even try and stop it. If we're at shows, I'll sometimes just tell people, like, catch it, throw it back. And, like, in a trophy now, we can use that to, pique people's interest. Be like, oh, shoot, you can throw it back and forth. You can catch the nuke. Like,
that's another one. We never were able to do that. We tried that.
It's not easy. We get people who come to shows just to try.
All right, I'm looking on PlayStationTrophies.org right now, and I looked up the trophies for Bombfest. Are you familiar with this website, Zach?
Yes, I am.
Okay. It says your estimated trophy difficulty is a 2.5 out of 10.
That's voted on by everybody who plays it on the forums.
Right. Approximate time to platinum, 5 to 8 hours, must be done in one sitting, otherwise it will take much longer.
Ooh, let's talk about that real quick.
Okay.
So, talking about day 1 patches, there's currently an issue with save files on PS4 for Bombfest. And this somehow got past our certification. It's a strange little edge case. It has to do with starting the game with a certain number of players logged in. If you have 1 player logged in their profile and people log in after the game started, no issue. If you have guests signed in, no issue. But if you've got multiple people signed into controllers when they boot up the game, it'll try and load the save file twice, corrupts the save file, you lose it. So that is not at all intended. And if anybody's struggling with that out there, we are pushing to fix that with our 1.1 patch, which should be coming in the coming weeks. So that's my bad. Like, I fully apologize for that. You're not supposed to sit there and unlock everything every time you play.
Yeah, I mean, the next thing apart in the list is number of missable trophies. It says none as long as you do all 174 matches in one sitting. Your progress towards the unlockable items resets every time you close the game app.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's part of the issue right now. So that will be fixed very shortly, and you will be able to take some breaks in between playing. Also, we will be speeding up the unlock speed for items, so you won't have to play that many matches to get everything. Our goal here isn't to make it like... Back in my TF2 days, we called it cheesing. Like, you had the list of achievements in front of you. You had a server with just your friends. You're like, how do we knock all these out as fast as possible? Some people want to do that. Like, I was the kind of player where I'm like, how do I naturally make these happen in a match? And I struggled and I get pissed and I wouldn't be able to do everything. But for some people, it's like, let's knock these out. Let's just make these happen. And, like, that's the fun of it. I'm not here to tell people how to play the game or how to enjoy, like, their trophies. So if they can knock it out quick or they're easy, that's cool. But if I can do things like communicate, you can catch the nuke, like, you can jump over the pit, you can you get an achievement for having a player in each of the houses in the garden level. Like, just interesting things that encourage strange gameplay. Like, cool, that's its own reward.
All right, and when it comes to developing a trophy list for a game, is there requirements put onto you by Sony or Microsoft that says you can only have this many trophies or this many of this? And like, because I listen to Kind of Funny, and Greg Miller, constantly talks about how developers are shy about putting a platinum on their game because they've gone to Sony and said, "Can we put a platinum in the game?" Sony says no, and they just give up. But yet they go, "No, we really want a platinum." Sony gives in. Like, how? what are the restraints as far as the trophy list goes when putting them into a game?
I think I need to be careful about how much I share.
Okay.
Due to NDAs. That's probably why the information isn't so publicly available. I can say I'm surprised that most games don't have platinum trophies. And maybe that's as much as I can say there.
Okay.
Well, here, I've got another question for Zach, because, we don't want him to say anything that he's not supposed to, so... wait, you guys have local co-op. It's just local co-op, not online co-op, correct? Or online multiplayer, right?
At this time, it's local co-op only.
So, Yield and I are big proponents of local multiplayer. Like, what goes into that? If you're looking to make a multiplayer game, what is kind of the things that you have to think about before deciding, okay, we want to put out online first, or we want to do local couch co-op first? What goes into that decision?
Oh gosh, it's like trying to build a home, right? I lay this foundation for Bombfest. I get this medieval party game going. I start building it up, and people are like, "Oh man, I love the blue paint." So I paint everything blue, and then I get the floor going. All of a sudden, people are like, "Why doesn't your house have wheels?" Like, wheels? Oh, I mean, yeah, some houses have wheels. So this one doesn't so far. We didn't plan that from the start. There's a basement. It's hard to put wheels on a basement. We didn't figure that out yet. And they're like, "Why don't you have wheels? Why don't you have wheels?" Like, well, if we could have started with the house with wheels, we'd have wheels. We wouldn't have a basement then, but and it's I do a show twice a week where I make games live online, and I tell people who ask questions, if they ask about network programming or they talk about AI or a couple other subjects, I say there's 3 forbidden types of programming, and network is probably the biggest one. It's its own beast. It's if you're going to make a multiplayer game, you've got to start with it. You've got to plan it from the very beginning, and everything is going to be affected by it. So if you're building that house and you've already got a basement in, if you're going to put wheels on that sucker, you're going to have to make some serious changes to make that thing roll. And if you got wheels on there and you want to give it a basement, same thing. You're going to have to do some work. So I can say that online multiplayer is something we would strongly desire for Bombfest, and it's something that I'm actively looking into. I can't speak on progress or dates, but we want that. The thing is, it's far, far harder than it tends to seem from outside. So many people pop in the comments of a game, any kind of game, and be like, "Add multiplayer, just add multiplayer." I'm like, okay, let's turn on the multiplayer switch. It's it's months and months testing, development, especially cross-platform. There's its own nightmare. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but
no, that definitely. One of the things that I noticed, because I wanted to get. I watch videos on YouTube of people playing together, and one of the things I noticed, especially with a couch co-op game, you like Mario Party, Smash Brothers, some games are meant to be played in the same room with other people, and I think this is definitely one of those games. I mean, having online options also is very nice, but when I was watching the YouTube videos, just seeing the reactions of all these people that were playing together in the same room, and just a bomb goes off and all 4 people go flying off the arena, and you just hear the "ah" from 4 people, that kind of atmosphere cannot be replicated online.
And then you're right. Then you're arguing who was the last one KO'd to get the points.
Because I would argue that you can't really have a party game if you don't have local multiplayer.
Yeah, I am very tempted to argue the same thing. There's something about it. When I was working on the game originally, people asked about local multiplayer, and I said, "What's a party game where you can't lean over and punch your brother in the arm?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to be able to be there and drink with your friends. It's got to be. It brings people together. No matter how much technology draws us apart, we're never going to be able to get away from the feeling of just being around people. So that's what party games hope to capture. So yeah, I fully agree.
All right,
hold on, Tricky. Let me ask one more question. You and Yield were talking about some of at least a couple bombs in the game that people can hurl at each other, and I think there are a total of 10 bombs in the game, unless you guys are adding more at some point.
We might be adding some more very shortly.
All right. But I have a very kind of off-the-wall question for you, and I hate to go to the cliche of zombies because, well, it seems like at this point zombies are kind of overdone. But I want to paint a little scene for you. It's a zombie apocalypse. You're trapped in a room with a group of zombies. Mm-hmm. One way out. The zombies are between you and the door. You have one bomb. What type of bomb is that? Oh,
goodness.
And obviously it has to be a bomb that's available in Bombfest.
Okay. This is tricky. I assume the sword doesn't count as a bomb, so I can count that one out.
I mean, if you want to go with some zombies with a sword, I salute you, sir. But...
Well, our Bombfest sword is a cotton swab, so it doesn't do good at removing heads. It makes a nice noise, though.
It's good to get an earwax.
That's true. I mean, maybe they just have like ear infections, and they're looking for some support.
You'll probably get something far nastier than an ear infection all over that cotton swab or that Q-tip if you're pressing it against a zombie's face.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but if somebody's used a Q-tip in their ear, I typically don't call dibs on it for seconds.
I want the other side.
It's still good. I'd have to go with the bouncy bomb, I think. So this pupper, you throw it after the timer runs out, it explodes, jumps straight up in the air, and bounces 3 more times. So it's got a larger range. It doesn't do as much push, but it's great for keeping an area clear. And if you're trying to get through that doorway, you need to keep people at bay. So a nuke's going to kill you, so probably a bad choice. The bread, probably my second best. I mean, that's a ration, and bread explodes, so not bad.
Now, like, if you're playing Bombfest, like, in what situation do you want to use a nuke? Because, like you said, you're going to kill yourself. If you use the nuke, is that just like, all right, well, I'm going to seed this game and we're all going to tie? Is that how it works?
You wait until you know that everybody else has better hands, and then you fold with the nuke. Thankfully, the range isn't too big, so realistically, the actual advice is you throw it near the edge, and you try and push people into it. But the best advice is you catch that sucker. And if you can catch that sucker, it becomes the most dangerous bomb in the game. And then you just hand it to somebody, just like Christmas.
The worst game of hot potato ever.
All right, so when it comes to, like, you mentioned before you used your life savings to make Bombfest. When you made the game and it's out to the public and people are playing it, do you immediately shift to, I got to make Bombfest 2, or I got to add DLC to this? Where does your mind frame go once the game's out and, you know, it's stable and you're not having to patch, you know, stupid mistakes and whatnot? Like, are you immediately thinking about the sequel, or are you immediately thinking about DLC?
Well, first is definitely trying to lock down those stupid mistakes, because they just keep coming up. We, from the beginning, we wanted to create a game that would bring people together and also just be something that grew with people. We don't want something where you play it once and you've experienced all that there is with Bombfest. We want something that grows and evolves, and you come back and say, I want to play this with, you know, all nukes or all rockets, and something that you can just latch onto and enjoy in a multitude of ways. So from the beginning, I committed to updating the game with free DLC as the months went on after release. So our first update will be coming, I'm going to estimate here, no promises, within a month, with 3 new bombs, new stage, more characters than you can shake a stick at, and a bunch of quality of life changes. So we've been listening to feedback. We want to make the game better, and we don't want to charge people for it. I mean, the base game is still as strong as it is, and we feel like we want to add value to a product that's already out there. I'm really a strong believer of games like Warframe and Team Fortress 2, where they just keep bringing the updates. Like it's free content, and they're not losing money because of it. They're proving that they're proving to their customers that they're loyal, that they want to provide the best experience, and they're the people who are on the fence. All of a sudden, they see that game pop up, it's on sale, and it has more content. Oh, that makes the buying process easy, right? Like, I think the long con is the best when it comes to games, personally. So that's what we're trying to pull here with Bombfest. Give the people what they want, have more fun with a game that I still enjoy playing, and keep it fresh.
All right, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you said you wanted to support for free DLC. Is there ever going to be a point where you think you might have to push paid DLC just to bring an income in to keep doing the patches and keep doing the updates, and or possibly make a sequel or another game entirely?
I hope to never do that if I had the chance. I mean, there's always the possibility. Like, and some people will jump on paid DLC. They see it as a luxury to be bought. So it's not off the table. I can safely say there's no plans at this time. But as far as like getting the next game done, I work full time on Bombfest, and I spend the rest of my time doing other jobs to raise money, support these patches, and support the next project down the line. So it's gonna happen, paid DLC or not, and we'll just see what people want of the game.
I think a great example of a studio, Psyonix, like a studio that balances paid DLC with free patches, because the biggest content that they release for Rocket League is you don't have to pay for. Now they release car models and stuff like that when they have to license like the Batmobile and Hot Wheels and stuff like that, the Ecto One. Like you'll pay for that in a DLC content pack, but most of their content that they release post launch has been free. So, I mean, there is a balance where, you can offer some paid content, but also still keep more than enough free content in the game to keep people playing 3 years after release.
I fully agree. I think that's a fantastic approach, and perhaps our own studio is just a little limited by staff and resources to look into more complex ventures when it comes to DLC. But that's a fantastic approach, and bully to them. If you guys wanted to see your favorite sponsor in Bombfest, to throw a question back at you guys, who would your dream little tie-in be?
Wow.
Anything.
Can I get High C Ecto Cooler, even though it's not around anymore?
Oh, I would jump for that. I could just put it in the background of a few stages. Easy.
It slimes everything when it explodes.
A little sidetrack here for a second, because when you just said the Ecto Cooler, if anybody doesn't know already, I live in New York City, and
you do?
I literally drive. Yeah, you're a dick.
I Scottish accent.
I literally drive by the Ghostbusters firehouse every day at work.
That's awesome.
And they obviously with the third Ghostbusters movie coming out, they've updated it, so it looks cool as hell. But I just wanted to mention that. Sorry.
So since you have a medieval,
well, hold on. Let's answer his question first, because
that's what I'm doing.
I gave
that's what I'm doing. You did the Ecto Cooler. So since you have a medieval theme, what about dragons?
Okay, dragons.
Wait, would you want like Game of Thrones?
We talking How to Train Your?
Like sponsorships in there, like Game of Thrones or How to Train Your Dragon?
I don't know, a dragon skin, a dragon in the background. I don't know.
Should I go find a dragon and strike up a deal to use his likeness in the game? Or
there you go. That'd be a little expensive.
I feel like.
I think that if I had to give you a real answer to this question, like just seeing some advertising for some other indie games in there, I think that would probably be that would be nice just to see, because I mean you've seen Brawl Out has a couple has Juan from Guacamelee, and it's got, I can't remember the other indie game character that's thrown in there, but you do see a lot of indie games incorporating other characters from indie games in there. Shovel Knight's been tossed around a little bit, so I think I would just like to see a little bit more coverage for other indie games.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
A couple skins for your characters. Maybe dress up like Game of Thrones characters, or Ghostbusters or whatever. Just some skins for the characters.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do. So I think that's on the table.
All right.
The hardest part is paying for the licensing of those Ghostbusters characters.
Or just getting close enough.
Yeah, you just get close.
Or just whatever you do, don't use Friday the 13th, because apparently that game was picking up steam, and then they had to squash everything with that.
Oh gosh, yeah, you don't mess with legal stuff when it comes to games. Like, you never mess with legal stuff.
Apparently they had the license, but then Kane Hodder brought them to court, and everything had to cease and desist.
Oh, weird. That's sketchy. That's sketchy. I wonder the details of that. But, I mean, actually, I can't even talk, guys. We made a commercial based on Smash 64's original commercial, live action. Like, frame for frame, perfect recreation, parody music, parody everything. So, and it's the only commercial you won't find on Nintendo's official commercial, on their official channel on YouTube. So, I can't speak more on that, but you be careful with stuff.
All right. You guys have any more questions, or we can close out the show?
Well, I've got one. So
Okay.
so I noticed when we were playing, me and the guys were playing, that it seemed that the only guy who was earning the trophy was the guy who started the game, instead of the other 3 guys who were logged in playing as well. Was that kind of by design, or was that just something that was missed?
I think this has to do with the save bug that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And it definitely has to do with the logins and the profiles. We're looking into it, and it's a doozy.
Oh, I'm sure it's not easy.
But we want to make sure that we. I mean, if you're in the game where you're in that trophy, I think you should get that trophy as well. So it's on our table to make that possible. So stay tuned.
I guess my last question for Zach, and I guess this would be a good transition into us closing out the show, would be, you've got an audience here, Zach, and, you've told us a lot about the game already, but if you were to sell somebody on the game, like what would you just tell our listeners and say, hey, go out and buy Bombfest? Like, what would be the things that you would say to them?
It's sumo wrestling with explosives. I mean, this game, you can pick it up. It takes 2 buttons to play. You can, if you watch any gameplay or you watch people playing, they're having a good time. Like, it sells itself. And, yeah, it's the perfect party game. At least that's how I sell it. And if I can be playing it for who knows how many thousands of hours in developing this thing, I'm still not bored of it. Hopefully you've got the patience I do as well. And if not, a couple of beers will fix that.
I hate to be this guy, but boom.
We had one rule in our marketing, and that was never use a bomb pun, and we still haven't, because we want to let everybody else have that honor.
All right,
I'm glad I could jump on that grenade for everybody else.
This is
really? Double down on that.
This has been an explosive interview.
Let me out of here.
Let's close out the show with some housekeeping.
Let's clean this shit up.
ProvenGamer.com is looking for some writers, podcasters, video editors, news reporters, and generalized help with the site. If you're interested in applying, go to ProvenGamer.com, click on the Help Wanted tab, and fill out the application, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. While you're there, be sure to check out all of our articles and all of our videos. Speaking of our videos, they can be found on YouTube by doing a search for Official Proven Gamer. You can also catch me streaming at twitch.tv/ProvenGamer, which I'm going to go now buy Bombfest and stream that probably tomorrow. As of this recording. Which is going to pull me away from Division 2, so.
How about you stream all week, Bombfest? Because, maybe not everyone's free one night, so why don't you stream all week?
I'm not complaining.
Zach, I like you, and no disrespect, but Division 2 comes out. Division 2 is out on Tuesday.
She's calling to me.
I'm sorry. How about you wait to see how that day one patch works out, and you read the reviews before you jump into Division just yet. I'm just trying to help your pocketbook, sir.
You mean our pocketbook?
He's already pre-ordered it.
Should have figured that.
It's already installed on my system. What are you talking about?
The collector's edition.
No, actually, I didn't get the collector's edition, surprisingly. I should have.
You didn't?
I did not. There was 2 versions of the collector's edition, and I wanted them both, and there was no way that I was going to convince the goddess to let me buy both of them. Because one was 150, the other one was 225.
Jeez.
And, yeah, there was no way I was going to get both of them, so I figured, you know what, I'm not going to get either one.
I'm sure you put up a good fight on that one.
I didn't even discuss it with her. She's probably looking at me like I got 2 heads right now. Like, you didn't get the special edition. Hey, can we go back to the housekeeping?
Sure.
I'm sure Zach has things to do. He has to go. Make Bombfest.
He's already made Bombfest.
Always more to do.
He has to go make Bombfest even more awesome.
Even more boomy.
You just
We
killed
got
it.
some boom.
I killed it. All right.
Yeah.
If you want to get a hold of us, there are several ways to get a hold of us. First one is Twitter. You can contact the site at Proven Gamer. You can contact the show at Trophy Wars. You can contact me at Tricky Mick. You can contact Yield at I Yield to No One. Contact Alex at Saundersaurus Rex. Contact Sid at Siderney. I forgot the numbers.
It's just Siderney. SIDDERNEY.
Okay. And contact Steven at MattChild27. Zach, do you have a Twitter?
Yeah, find me as Zac Pierce on just about everything.
Also, Bombfest has Twitter as well.
That's true. Play Bombfest on just about everything.
If you want to send us an email, you can send us an email to trophyyours@provengamer.com, or you can call us at our phone number. Yield, what's that number?
330-PROVEN9. 330-776-8369.
If you listen to this podcast, we greatly appreciate it, but be sure to listen to our other podcast, PG Spoilers, which I was told there's more episodes coming. They're being edited, and they're being sent to me. Nintendo Dual Screens and Game Stuff. All of our podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, formerly iTunes, Stitcher, your various podcast applications on your smart devices, Google Play, TuneIn, and you can listen to Trophy Wars and Nintendo Dual Screens on iHeartRadio and Spotify. If you want to get involved in our PlayStation 4 communities, there's one for the site, Proven Gamer. There's one for the show called T-Dubs Brothel. Why, Alex?
Because President of Worldwide Studios, Shuhei Yoshida, will not allow us to say whores on the PlayStation Network.
And you can get involved in Yield's PlayStation 4 community called the Platinum Guild.
What? Yes?
Why don't you tell people what they can do on the Platinum Guild?
Okay. So, why didn't know I didn't know what
It's like you haven't been on the show before.
Why didn't know that's what you were leading into? You said I had a... Anyway, so, you go over to the Platinum Guild, request a application. You better hurry, because they're filling up fast. I might be at my quota for the year yet. So, it's a place where you just post your latest Platinum. Brag about it, keep track about it.
All right, so that is the end of our housekeeping, but we do have some sponsors. Alex, why don't you tell people what Humble Bundle is, and then I'm going to go see what Humble Bundles are available.
Well, the Humble Bundle is first, to learn more about the Humble Bundle, you can go to humblebundle.com. You can even sign up for their electronic newsletter at the bottom of their homepage. Humble Bundle is a charity initiative that every month bundles together a group of games, and, it offers, you can kind of name your price for that bundle of games. The more you pay, it's kind of in tiers. The more you pay, the more games you'll get, the more content that you'll get. Obviously, when you can get a good value on games, that's obviously a boon for you. But you also have to realize that this money that you're paying for these charity initiatives also does, in fact, go to charity. So you're also helping people. So the more you pay, you're obviously rewarded with more goodies. And it's not just bundles. They also do sales on single games. So if there's a particular game that you're looking to get for PC or something like that, they will oftentimes have individual game sales every month.
And they also have coding books, development tools, all that kind of stuff on there. Right now, they have a deal, pay what you want. So you can pay a penny, and you get the first tree, Tangle Deep, and Among the Sleep, Enhanced Edition. These are all for Steam. If you pay an average of $4.02, you get everything previously mentioned, plus Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, Tooth and Tail, and Dream Daddy, a dad dating simulator. And if you pay $10 or more, you get everything I just mentioned, plus Overgrowth.
And they sometimes will have actually comic book bundles on there, too, like they recently did.
I think they have one going on right now. I'm looking. I don't see one right now. But they have them all of these, recycle over the month. So, by the time you hear this one, the next one might be live. So go check out Humble Bundle.
Yep, and I will always add the link to our Humble Bundle partnership page in the show description for every episode of Trophy Wars on ProvenGamer.com.
Yes. And our other sponsor is Extra Life. Yo, can you tell us about Extra Life?
So, Extra Life, November 2nd this year? Yes? 3rd?
I believe so.
It's the second.
I believe it's the second because it was third last year. So on November 2nd, and it just so happens to be the end of daylight savings. So it's a 25-hour video game marathon. So what you do is you form a team, or you join a team. We have it. Proven Gamer has a team. You can join our team, or you can just be all solo by yourself. So what you do is you get family members, neighbors, friends, total strangers to donate monies to you to play video games for 25 hours. 100% of the money that you get donated to you goes to the Children's Miracle Network Hospital of your choosing. So it's a win-win. You raise money to help kids that are sick, and you get to play video games while you're doing it. So it's a win-win situation.
And if you want more information on Extra Life, go to the website extra-life.org.
Thanks, Alex.
And we were also sponsored by Amazon. If you would, each and every time you do your shopping on Amazon, stop by any Proven Gamer page, click on any Amazon link, and continue your normal shopping. It doesn't cost you anything extra and does help out the site tremendously. We also are Patreon. If you can go to patreon.com/provengamer, there are different tiers you can support us at. Depending on the tier is what kind of perks you get. If we raise a certain number of money, we're going to do a mobile app. We're going to do live streams of our shows on YouTube, if I can ever get Yield to commit to that. Show crossovers. You may hear us host an episode of Dual Screens hosted us, or vice versa with game stuff, everything. So go check that out. No matter what tier you support us at, know that it greatly appreciates. And special thank you to our Patreon producers. Alex, what are their names?
They are Felicia Steff and CJ Anderson.
Yes. So thank you especially to our Patreon producers. That is going to close out the show. But first we have to do some shout outs. Alex, your shout out, sir.
Well, as always, I want to give a shout out first and foremost to our listeners, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horse. Thank you all very much for your continued support of the show, because without you all, we would not be on iHeartRadio, we would not be on Spotify, so you all continue to push Trophy Horse to even greater heights. Give a shout out to my co-hosts this week, Tricky and Yield, as well as our special guest, Zach. Zach, thank you very much for coming on and joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
And last but not least, of course, I want to give a shout out to my lovely girlfriend, Ashley, who's over on the bed playing some Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and who actually today bought some Girl Scout cookies for the house, some Samoas, some Thin Mints, and some Tagalongs, my personal favorites.
Yeah, Tagalongs!
So definitely want to give a shout out to my lovely girlfriend, Ashley.
Does she say the Breath of the Wild sucks like I say it does?
She seems to be having a lot of fun with it. Oh, by the way,
I think you need to find a new girlfriend.
I don't know how you... I don't buy my girlfriends, Tricky.
I didn't say buy a girlfriend. I said you need to find a new girlfriend.
No, thanks. I'm good with the one I got. But I don't know how you can... I can't believe I forgot to bring this up. How can you complain about the changes they made to Zelda and Breath of the Wild and sit there and be completely gaga for God of War after all the changes they made from one part of the series to the next?
All right, we're going to get into this next episode.
All right, that's fine with me.
Fair enough.
Those are my shout-outs.
Yield your shout-out, sir.
So, as always, I give a shout-out to the pimps and the madams of the whoredom. Thank you for listening, downloading, spreading everything that is Trophy Horse and Proven Gamer. I would like to give a shout out to Zach, Bombfest, and Zach and all of the team at Bombfest, because it really is a very fun party game, and you guys should give it a whirl because it's fun. It's a bang up job.
Really?
They don't end.
Really?
We'll be feeling all the shrapnel from all these jokes on Tuesday and Monday.
See, you're getting creative. I like that.
The air raid sirens going off, the nuke's about to fall. This is awesome. A shout out to Tricky and Alex for recording this week. And yeah, that'll do it for me this week.
Zach, you're next, buddy. You want your shout outs?
Shoot. Shout out to anybody who's picked up Bombfest. Thank you so much for supporting a dream, and what I hope and will continue to improve upon is a good time. And shout out to Marissa Hike, Matt White, and Jeff, and everybody else at Whitethorn who helps bring this game together. Thank you guys so much for having me here. This has been I almost said a blast. That was close. This has been a really good time, and I enjoyed talking with you guys.
And I don't want to put this out there unless, obviously you have, but if anybody's going to PAX East, you'll be there to talk to people, right?
I will be at PAX East. In fact, I'm presenting with the Indie Mega Booth. It's a huge honor. So find the Indie Mega Booth. Come find me. I'm the redhead.
I'm definitely going to come find you.
Sick.
All right. And I want to give a shout out to the goddess who is patiently waiting to cook dinner. Shout out to Sweet Mama D, who was nice enough to leave me alone so I can do this recording because she normally interrupts me during them. Shout out to all the listeners. A special shout out to Zach. Thank you very much for coming on. You answered a message from somebody you have no idea who they are, and you've taken time out of your day and work to come talk to us, and I can't express in words how much that means to us and our listeners.
Hey, time well spent. Thank you again for having me.
All right. With that being said, if there's nothing else, happy trophy hunting.
Peace out.
Later.
Save your last words, then read to me this. Save your last words. Save your last words, then read to me this. Save your last words, then read to me this. Save your last words, then read to me this. Save your last words, then read to me this.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.